The galaxy thought humans were fragile, diplomatic creatures. One soldier pulled the trigger to test that theory. 2 hours later, the sky above his homeworld cracked open, and the humans answered not with words, but with fire. The Galactic Council Assembly Hall on Syndracar Prime was a marvel of civilization. Grand, floating structures encased in translucent domes, glittering with artificial suns and shielded by fields of peace. Species from all corners of the galaxy gathered here, debating trade, diplomacy, and fragile alliances. And now, for the first time, humanity had a seat. Ambassador Elias Reign of Earth stood calmly behind the central podium, flanked by 2 silent Terran honor guards. Dressed in the midnight blue robes of Earth's diplomatic corps, his presence caused whispers. Humanity's rise in recent decades had been disruptive. "We do not seek dominion," Elias said in his composed, resonant tone. "We seek cooperation, unity, respect." But not everyone respected humans. From the rear sector of the hall, a soldier in crimson armor stirred. He belonged to the Regnary Dominion, a militant power notorious for their disdain of Earth. His species, the Varnex, were 8 feet tall and bred for combat. His fingers twitched against the grip of his sidearm. Humanity's peace was a threat. Their speed of advancement, their military restraint, it unnerved the Council's older powers. The Varnex soldier wasn't a diplomat. He was a message, sent by hardliners to remind humanity of its place. And as Elias raised a glass of water to his lips, the Varnex aimed and fired. A red beam screamed through the air, cracking across the force field dome, but the human honor guard moved with terrifying precision. The beam splashed harmlessly against an intercepting shield. Elias didn't flinch. He simply looked up and locked eyes with the would-be assassin. Silence fell. The soldier was immediately tackled by security drones, his weapon stripped, arms bound. The council erupted in shouts, calls for arrest, for justice, for restraint. Elias stepped away from the podium, calm as a winter sea. "We came to offer peace," he said, eyes sweeping across the chamber. "And your people answered with blood." The council president, a feathery Traylon, fluttered forward. "Ambassador Reign, please, Earth must understand this was the act of one radical." Elias looked at his wristwatch. "Understood. Time of attack noted. 1,400 hours, Earth standard." Then he turned and left. In orbit above Syndracar Prime, the Terran ship Resolute Dawn received a silent command. Back on the Varnex homeworld of Jern Varis, their planetary defense net went on high alert. They knew Earth would respond. But they expected posturing. A complaint. Maybe sanctions. Certainly not what came next. At 1,600 hours Earth standard, exactly 2 hours after the attack, Jern Varis detected a gravity spike. Something exited fold space in low orbit. Something massive. The EHA's Retribution, a Dreadfleet-class Terran battlecruiser. Humanity's most feared vessel. Known only from reports, rumors, and one classified war that ended with a black hole where a star system used to be. From its hull, glowing with containment runes and kinetic barriers, came no threat. Just one transmission. Article 9 of Earth's Interstellar Protocol. Any attempt to harm a human diplomat constitutes an act of war. No one on Jern Varis had time to argue. The Retribution opened fire. A single kinetic lance, invisible to the naked eye, pierced the atmosphere. It moved faster than sound, faster than light in a vacuum. It burrowed deep into the planet's crust and triggered a chain of antimatter charges. In less than 6 seconds, the Varnex capital ceased to exist. 2 minutes later, the tectonic plate beneath the region shattered. Volcanoes erupted across the hemisphere. The oceans boiled. Skies ignited. Jern Varis began dying. Back on Syndracar Prime, council members watched the live broadcast in horror. Emergency diplomats screamed. The Regnary Dominion called for war. Elias Reign simply returned to the podium, emotionless. He spoke once more. "Earth does not ask for war, but we will never run from it." And with that, the age of quiet diplomacy ended. The Varnex fleet scrambled across the stars, broadcasting distress signals that echoed through every allied channel. The once proud homeworld of Jern Varis was breaking apart beneath their feet, oceans tearing into steam, continents buckling under tectonic upheaval, and skies filled with fire. Admiral Krozek of the Varnek's 7th Armada watched the footage in real time from his orbiting dreadnought. It didn't seem real. How could one Terran warship do this? They had planetary shields, ground-based cannons, missile grids. None of it had mattered. None of it had even activated. We underestimated them, he muttered. His second-in-command, blood draining from her already pale features, said nothing. The retribution had vanished into fold space after firing. No warning. No demand. Just swift, decisive annihilation. 2 hours after a single diplomatic insult. Panic seized the galactic channels. Species who had once scoffed at Earth's measured policies now scrambled to open lines of communication. Some issued statements condemning the Varneks. Others immediately placed diplomatic protection over their own embassies to avoid being next. On Earth, the response was silent but resolute. The president of the Terran Concord issued only one sentence. Diplomacy does not mean weakness. In the war rooms of the Dominion, military strategists tried to piece together a counterstrike. But all simulations ended the same way, failure. Not because of numbers, but because of Terran unpredictability. Their AI war logic was alien. Their weapons, exotic. And most disturbing of all, they didn't respond with threats. They responded with action. Within 24 hours, the Regnary Dominion's neighboring allies began withdrawing trade. Their excuses were transparent. Avoid being caught in Earth's line of fire. Meanwhile, Elias Rain stood before the council once again. No fanfare. No speeches. Just a file placed before the central table. Evidence, he said plainly, of the Varnek's military council's plan to stage an accidental assassination to test Terran resolve. A chorus of shocked murmurs filled the chamber. You knew? Gasped one elder diplomat. We suspected, Elias said. We hoped for better. The council voted that day to expel the Regnary Dominion from its ranks, pending further investigation. Sanctions followed. Orders closed. Allies turned silent. But Earth wasn't finished. Across 12 systems, Terran fleets moved quietly to secure trade routes once dominated by Regnary influence. They didn't fire a shot. They didn't speak a word. They just arrived. And no one challenged them. In the ruins of Jern Varis, rescue crews tried to salvage what they could. They found half-melted bodies in shelters, twisted towers, cities turned to craters. And in the middle of it all, they found the ruins of the Regnary High Command, gone in a clean circle of scorched earth exactly 1 kilometer wide. The message was clear. Earth knew where to strike. Across the galaxy, children grew up hearing new ghost stories. Don't harm a human diplomat, parents whispered, or Earth will erase your name from the stars. And as for Elias Rain, the man at the center of it all, he returned to Earth in silence. No medals, no grand speeches, just a quiet reception at Terran Command. One officer asked him, "Do you think they got the message?" Elias stared out the window at the black stretch of space beyond. They got it, he said. And for the first time in galactic history, the stars felt smaller. Because now everyone knew, humanity wasn't just another race among the stars. They were the line you never crossed. In the wake of Jern Varis' destruction, what had once been a proud and defiant star empire now lay fractured. Its outlying systems declared independence. Its remaining military leaders either went silent or surrendered to the nearest Terran patrol without resistance. The shockwave of Earth's retribution had done more than destroy a planet. It had broken the spine of a galactic superpower. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Dozens of species arrived in haste, their banners once held high, now dragged low with apprehension. They gathered in the core spire, a station so vast it housed its own artificial atmosphere and sun. But today, even its lights seemed dimmer. At the center sat the Terran envoy, Elias Rain. Alone, unarmed, calm. Council Elder Thravik, an ancient Makari with translucent skin and 6 luminous eyes, cleared his throat with a nervous click. Ambassador Rain. The council requests clarification. Was the destruction of Jern Varis authorized? Elias leaned forward, eyes steady. What happened to Jern Varis was the consequence of a decision, not ours. The Regnary leadership chose violence. We responded. Swiftly, precisely, and only once. A karate senator, a race once boasting they'd never fear a soft-blooded human, shifted uncomfortably. But an entire planet, a military planet, Elias corrected, and the headquarters of the plot to murder a Terran diplomat during a peace mission. Silence. A Zyran queen, her voice like wind chimes, asked the question everyone feared. Will Earth strike again? Elias tilted his head slightly. That depends. Will anyone else attempt to murder our diplomats? Again, silence. The Council's internal comms flickered alive, messages pouring in from hundreds of systems, formal apologies, emergency requests for Terran protection, trade proposals, security pacts. Within days, Earth's political leverage multiplied. Planets who once dismissed Earth as a fledgling species now offered ports, resources, even defense secrets. Not out of fear, but out of respect. No one had ever seen such precision, such controlled fury. Outside the political chambers, the streets of the Spire bustled with change. The once ignored Terran embassy was now the most visited. Alien dignitaries stood in line just to speak with a human officer. Children played with plastic models of Terran dreadnoughts, and graffiti artists tagged walls with a new symbol, a solitary Terran star, surrounded by a shattered planet. In a dark corner of the galaxy, hidden from prying sensors, a surviving Regnari fleet drifted. Vice Admiral Serix, one of the last High Command officers, addressed his remaining captains. Earth made us bleed, he growled. But we are not finished. We'll regroup. We'll rebuild. One day we will. No, we won't, a voice said. A young officer rose from his seat. He placed his sidearm on the table and stared at Serix with haunted eyes. We tried to kill a man who came in peace. And we lost our entire world. We lost everything. Others nodded. Serix screamed in rage, but he was alone. His command dissolved before his eyes. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Elias Rain stood beneath the Terran Concorde's banner, watching a new fleet roll out of the construction yards. Sleeker, stronger, faster, not to conquer, but to ensure that no human diplomat would ever be targeted again. Earth had spoken, and the galaxy listened. The diplomatic shuttle that had been destroyed weeks ago, along with its lone human occupant, was now immortalized in holographic displays across Earth and its allied colonies. It floated silently in Terran Space Command's Memorial Hall, a reminder, not of weakness, but of restraint. For Earth had answered not with chaos, but with precision. And now, the galaxy was waiting. Rumors spread faster than hyperlight across the stars. Some claimed the weapon that obliterated Jernvaris was a prototype, a gravity well manipulator that crushed the planet from within. Others whispered it was a relic from Earth's earliest days in space, something humanity had buried and vowed never to use. No confirmation ever came, and that silence was the loudest message of all. The Galactic Council, still reeling, tried to return to business as usual. Trade resumed. Patrols were recalibrated. New embassies opened. But everyone, every species, adjusted their maps. Not with new borders, but with new awareness. Earth was no longer seen as merely a rising power. They were a reminder. Diplomacy had limits. And Earth's limit had a name, Ambassador Elias Rain. Atop the orbital station Tresely Prime, two rival factions met for negotiations. For centuries, the Relari and the Vexari had waged bitter skirmishes over mineral rights in the Padran expanse. But today, a third party had arrived to mediate. A human, Commander Lyra Dawes. Young, composed, wearing a navy blue suit with no medals or armor, just a simple Terran insignia. As the two alien leaders shouted, threatened, and postured, Lyra calmly placed a datapad on the table. "You are arguing over rocks," she said. The room went silent. Rocks that could power reactors, or be used to build weapons, or be left in the ground for another 1,000 years. But let me be clear, if this war continues and harms Terran citizens or allies, Earth will consider it a security matter. The Relari laughed. The Vexari hissed. Lyra turned the datapad around. A visual played, slow, grim, undeniable. Jernvaris. Breaking apart. The laughter stopped. "This is not a threat," she added. "It's a record of what happens when peaceful Terrans are murdered." The two factions signed a treaty within the hour. Back in Terran Command, Elias Rain watched the report stream in. He didn't smile. He simply archived it under a folder marked, resolved with words. The Terran response had become doctrine. Not aggression, not dominance, but a kind of finality. Those who struck Earth would not face occupation or conquest. They would simply cease to be a problem. In distant space, hidden probes detected movement. Pirate clans, rogue mercenary fleets, black market tyrants, all changing course. All steering away from human space. Not because Earth was expanding, but because the cost of disturbing it had become too high. Even among the Terran military, there was reflection. Admiral Nia Solari addressed her officers. "We didn't destroy Jern Varis to send a message," she said. "But a message was received. Let it be known, we value peace." Fiercely. But if our diplomats, our citizens, or our sovereignty are violated, then the storm you face will carry no warning, no mercy, and no repeat. Across the stars, systems began renaming their border laws. Terran Clause, immediate response for diplomatic harm. One act had changed everything. And Earth? Earth returned to its work, its art, its innovation. But the galaxy would never see them the same way again. The message had been delivered, the galaxy shaken, but there were always outliers. In the far edges of the Varnix expanse, a coalition of warlords and exiles, enraged by Earth's growing influence, formed what they called the Last Concord. They claimed they would teach humanity fear. They believed Earth's strike on Jern Varis had been a bluff, a fluke, a single weapon with limited range or a one-time use. They saw restraint not as strength, but as hesitation. So they built a fleet, 100 warships, hardened against gravity weapons, spread across multiple systems. Using slave labor economies, stolen tech, and dark matter drives, they assembled what they believed to be the most unpredictable and untraceable attack force in the galaxy. Their target, Terra itself. But Earth had changed. Not just militarily, culturally, strategically. Every major Terran ship now carried automated conflict prediction systems. AI merged with centuries of psychological warfare data. Every colony maintained quiet alliances. Every diplomat traveled with an escort not of soldiers, but of unseen security webs and orbital monitors. So when the Last Concord launched their attack, they didn't reach Earth. They didn't even reach Sol. They were intercepted by a single ship. Not massive, not covered in weapons. No banners, no broadcast. Just a black vessel shaped like a shard of obsidian. It had no known class designation. It had no registry. It was known only by the transmission it sent before engaging. "This is the Rain Protocol. Surrender, or be removed." The warlords laughed. 1 hour later, 73 of their ships were gone, disintegrated by kinetic strikes moving faster than light. The remaining ships tried to scatter, warp, cloak. It didn't matter. The black ship was everywhere at once, as if it bent the concept of space itself. Inside command rooms, fear turned to panic. Commanders wept. Some begged for mercy. Only one survived. Admiral Kadar, leader of the Concord, was captured and brought to the edge of Earth's orbit. His ship was held in place by gravity locks. No one boarded him. No one interrogated him. He was simply made to look down at Earth. Blue. Alive. Untouched. Then a Terran voice came through the channel. "You thought fear was our tool," the voice said. "But no. Clarity is." Kadar's ship was then towed to a deep space prison facility. His memory was never recorded again. The galaxy took note. In the aftermath, systems across the stars deleted any operation that hinted at Terran provocation. Smugglers changed routes. Dictators revised speeches. Even the most chaotic empires adopted new diplomatic branches, designed not to please Earth, but to avoid triggering its gaze. Earth didn't respond with rage. It responded with certainty. And certainty, in a galaxy of chaos, was terrifying. In the end, Ambassador Elias Rain's name became a code phrase. It was used not to remember a man, but a moment. The moment Earth stopped asking for respect and started being given it. Without question.